Hello, everybody. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm Ashish. I'm the founder and CEO of MASH Project Foundation. It gives me an immense pleasure to celebrate a very special day today with this very, very special initiative called Samaaj Ki Awaaz. We are marking Women's Equality Day with such amazing group of artists and some very key stakeholders today. Our first event today is an open mic which will be showcasing some empowered voices from artists like Ananya Ravi, Rankirat, Pooja Gorshek, Yashi Verma, and Shubhra Priyadarshini. In the second half of today's program, we have some very eminent personalities like Ira Singhal, Rimjim Pandey, Shorbi Malik, Karishma, Mitali, Parul, and it will be moderated by Soumya Menon. Today's event is a special partnership that we have joined hands with Dailyhunt to mark some of the important topics that we all care deeply about and have gathered today to really express our voices towards making a much more equal world for women and for many other genders at large. So let's get started. I would like to request our first artist, Yashi Verma, to come up on the stage.
Hello, everyone. I am going to be performing this little Urdu slash Hindustani poem. Basically, the context of this poem is कि कैसे औरतों को हमेशा एक हसीन कैटेगरी में या एक ब्यूटीफुल कैटेगरी में डाल दिया जाता है कि each poet, each artist just comes up and starts describing woman as beautiful or as खूबसूरत or as a scene. So this poem starts like क्या जरूरी है क्या जरूरी है औरत का हसीन होना आंखों में सिया फिराक का अश्क होना होठों का गुलो सा रंग होना नफस में जाज खुश वजा ढंग होना क्या जरूरी है औरत का हसीन होना पलकों का झुक कर वसीम होना रंजिश के रिश्ते में भी मन का शीर होना अदा से हल्का मीठा और बाकी नमकीन होना क्या जरूरी है औरत का हसीन होना पायल का जंजीर और चूड़ियों का हथकड़ी होना हक की मांग पर जिम्मेदारी की दलील मिलना अदालत आलम में हर दफा मुजरिम करार होना जुल्म का इतना बढ़ना कि उसका तकदीर होना क्या जरूरी है औरत का हसीन होना उसका माँ बेटी या बहन होना उसका कैद रहना या आजाद रहना उसके होने या ना होने की तलकीन होना क्या जरूरी है क्या जरूरी है औरत का हसीन होना शुक्रिया आई होप यू लाइक इट हेलो
Yeah, we can hear you, Yashi. Everything good?
yeah I actually just recited the I'm not sure if it came across.
No, no, of course it came across. I
Oh,
thought that
right,
you
right, right. If
so
it
yeah,
doesn't,
yeah,
nobody. No, all right, all right, all right. I'm
yeah,
here only.
yeah. So we'd like to thank Yashi for that wonderful poem that she recited for all of us. So the next artists that we have for us are Ananya and Rankirat, who are vocalists from the Ignaro project, and they'll present some music for us, for all of us, in context with the theme. So I'd like to call both of them upon now.
Hi, my name's Ananya. This is Rankirat. And I'm going to be doing two songs for you guys today. The first song is called Woman by Leanne Lahavis and Now. So, this song really empowers me personally because it really reminds women to embrace themselves and be unapologetic and, um, you know, just be confident in who you are. And I think that's a really important message because it's really important for women to feel equal in order to empower their own voices. So yeah, here we go. Baby, you see me in a magic place. I got you a real good reason. Having with another face got me feeling so high. Baby, I'm living in a magic place. You show me the gods on mine. So maybe you should rush me. Yeah, I'm rain in the sky. Ooh, you ain't gotta tell me when to go, when to come down. You're working this hard for a throne just to fall now. Guess you gotta wait, 'cause I don't wanna come down. Yeah, I'm feeling so high. God is a woman on Sunday, I'm a worshipers. Take my mirror out the bag and fill it with confidence. Yeah, a woman's worth is everything without you, baby. Put your blinkers on if you don't wanna hear it, baby. If it all falls down, I'll make another way again, 'cause I'm feeling so high. Take it, can't take it off of me. Yeah. Break it, break it off of me. Yeah, I'm rain in the sky. Let it out, play nothing, to write it out. Never lonely, feel now. Yeah, we've all been through it. Let it go, say it out. Hold your head up and wake out. There's never no way that you come down. God is feeling so high. You ain't gotta tell me when to go, when to come down. You're working this hard for the throne just to fall now. Guess you gotta wait, 'cause I don't wanna come down. Yeah, I'm feeling so high. God is a woman on Sunday, I'm a worshipers. Take my mirror out the bag and fill it with confidence. Yeah, so this was Woman. The next song I'll be doing is Born This Way by Lady Gaga. Now, this song I feel like is really important because it empowers not only cisgender women but like non-cisgender women as well, which is something that we should totally remember on Women's Equality Day, because it's not just about women as we think women. So yeah, gonna do Born This Way by Lady Gaga. Mama told me when I was young, we were born superstars. She wore my hair, put my lipstick on, in the glass of a boudoir. There's nothing wrong with learning who you are, she said, 'cause you made you perfect. So hold your head, good, and you go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, I was born this way. was it true? In the religion of the insecure, I must be myself, respect by you. But if ever it's not a sin, the capital H. I'm not a part of this record, and you're not on the right. I need a boy moving, it's coming down the streets. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't let yourself in regret, just tell yourself and you say, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Baby, ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya and Ankit. That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Uh, would now like to call upon Pooja Gorshek, who is a storyteller, and she will talk about the actual representation of society, of women in society, through her work that she's going to present for us. So I'd like to call her upon.
Hi, uh, hi Umang, and hi everyone watching this. I'm glad that I got this opportunity. So, first of all, I'll start with one poetry, Hindi poetry. Just the title of the poetry is Rang. Basically, what it talks about is the way we have discriminated not just women but everybody uh, because of colors. So, let me start with it. तेरी रंग तेरी पहचान है ऐसा कहेंगे वो तुझे तेरे रंग में सुंदरता कितनी है ऐसा बताएंगे वो तुझे गोरी हो तो घमंड ना करना ये भी सुनाएंगे वो तुझे रंग धीमा है लाल रंग ना पहनना कुछ यूं सिखाएंगे वो तुझे रूप यहाँ खास है ऐसे ही बड़ा करेंगे वो तुझे मगर रूप बस एक विशेषता है ये सीखना है तुझे रंग को खुद की पहचान नहीं बनाना है ये याद रखना है तुझे हर रंग में दुनिया सुंदर है ये बात समझना है हमें गुलाबी हो या पीली हर रंग को सहेजना है तुझे मत रख मन में रंगों का भेद क्योंकि रंगों से ऊपर उठकर खुद की पहचान बनाना है तुझे So starting with this, the second what I am going to perform is a storytelling, kind of small monologue or story, what you can say. And इसका टाइटल है एक सौतेली माँ उम्र के 18 वर्ष में ब्याही गई किसी ने ना पूछा ना कोई राय मांगी शादी होते ही 2 बच्चों की माँ बनने वो आई पत्नी से ज्यादा एक माँ की जरूरत थी उस परिवार में अपने से 15 बरस ऊपर के आदमी से उसकी शादी हो गई एक बेटा और बेटी को पाल कर बड़ा करना था उसे बिन माँ के बच्चे हैं कैसे पलेंगे उम्र अभी 4 या 5 साल की तो है शादी के एक दिन पहले माँ कमरे में आई और कहने लगी कि बेटी कोई दुख नहीं होगा लड़का अच्छा है और अच्छा कमाता है और कहने लगी कि 2 बच्चों को ही तो देखना है एकदम अपने बच्चों जैसा पालना कोई भी कमी मत करना वैसे वरना हमेशा सौतेली माँ का ताना सुनती रहोगी माँ तो एक बार डांट भी दे सौतेली माँ डांट देती है तो उसकी गूंज पूरे समाज में सुनाई देने लगती है क्या बचा था उसके पास बिना इसके कि वो सच्चाई को जितने जल्दी अपना ले शादी करके पति के पास गई पति ने पहले दिन ही कह दिया मुझे अपने बच्चों के लिए एक माँ चाहिए और उसके लिए तुम्हें ये गृहस्थी संभालनी होगी इस परिवार को आगे नहीं बढ़ाएंगे वरना मेरे बच्चों को तुम ठीक से ध्यान नहीं दोगी बेटा और बेटी दोनों हैं ही किसी और की क्या जरूरत अब माँ बनने आई थी और खुद माँ बनने का हक उसी वक्त उससे छीन लिया गया ना किसी ने पूछा ना राय ली मगर जिंदगी भर हर कदम सोचकर उसे आगे रखना था वरना सौतेली माँ अगर प्यार भी ज्यादा करती है तो उसकी लालसा पूरे समाज को दिखाई देती है. That's all. Hello, hey Umang.
That was
You
incredibly.
are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pooja. That was incredibly moving, and thank you for performing for all of us, and we really enjoyed that. Thank you, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Umang. Thank you so much.
So I would now like to call upon the multi-talented Rankirat, who's gonna sing for us. He's a singer, songwriter, and guitarist at the Ignaro project and at the Backyard Shrooms as well. So I would like to call him upon now.
Hi, the song that I'll be doing is called Daughters by John Mayer. And the reason I'm doing this song is because it talks about being good to women and to little girls. And being good is taught at home. It begins there. So, like, I think it really inculcates in, equality and, having like a good outlook. So, I think it's really important. So, yeah. I know a girl. She puts the colors inside of my world. She's just like a maze. All of the walls all continually change. I've done all I can. Stand on the steps with my heart in my hand. I started to see baby's got nothing to do with me. So fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. Oh, you see that skin? It's the same as she's been standing in. Since the day she saw him walking away, now she's left cleaning up. So fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. Boys, you can break. Find out how much they can take. Boys will be strong. Boys soldier on. Boys will be gone without the warmth of a woman's girl. Oh, so fathers, be good to your daughters. Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers, we turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. So mothers, be good to your daughters too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rankita. That was wonderful. You have a really amazing voice, and that was great. Thank you so much. So for a last act, I would now like to call upon Shubhra Priyadarshini, who is a poet, and she is gonna perform a poem for us about women empowerment in Hindi. So I'll call her upon now.
Hi everyone. Since we know that our mother tongue is Hindi, so I would like to recite a poem in the Hindi language. So here it begin. First of all, नमस्कार, मेरा नाम शुभ्रा प्रियदर्शनी है. मैं भारती कॉलेज दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय में इतिहास की छात्रा हूँ. मन में जो विचार आते हैं उन विचारों को जब हम पन्ने पर व्यक्त करते हैं तो वह कविता का रूप ले लेती है. ऐसी ही एक कविता आज मैंने लिखी है. चूँकि महिलाओं की बात होती है तो महिलाओं की शक्ति को जागृत करना पूरे विश्व में आवश्यक है. भारत की नारी हमेशा से महान रही है और हमेशा रहेगी. आज महिला समानता दिवस के शुभ अवसर पर मैंने एक कविता लिखी है. आशा करती हूँ आपको यह ज़रूर पसंद आएगी. मेरी कविता का शीर्षक है मानवीय शक्ति. जी हाँ, मानवीय शक्ति. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. संपूर्ण जगत को जान चुके हैं, तुम्हारी ताकत को हम मान चुके हैं. संपूर्ण जगत को जान चुके हैं, तुम्हारी ताकत को हम पहचान चुके हैं. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. शिक्षा, विज्ञान, युद्ध भूमि और राजनीति, ये चार ऐसे हैं आयाम. शिक्षा, विज्ञान, युद्ध भूमि और राजनीति, ये चार ऐसे हैं आयाम जहां तुमने बनाई अपनी पहचान. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. गार्गी, मैत्री, हाजरा को हम जान चुके हैं, तुम्हारी लोहा को हम मान चुके हैं. गार्गी, मैत्री, हाजरा को हम जान चुके हैं, तुम्हारी लोहा को हम मान चुके हैं. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. मैडम क्यूरी, लक्ष्मीबाई, थैचर, इंदिरा को हम जान चुके हैं. मैडम क्यूरी, लक्ष्मीबाई, थैचर, इंदिरा को हम जान चुके हैं, तुम्हारी शक्ति को हम पहचान चुके हैं. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. संस्कृति, वेशभूषा संभाले 5 मीटर की साड़ी. संस्कृति, वेशभूषा संभाले 5 मीटर की साड़ी. बदलो सोच, अब ये नहीं है बेचारी. बदलो सोच, अब ये नहीं है बेचारी. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. इतिहास में भी तुम रह चुकी हो, इतिहास में भी तुम रह चुकी हो, मानव जुर्म को सह चुकी हो. चांद बीवी रजिया सुल्तान, युद्ध भूमि की करो पहचान. चांद बीवी रजिया सुल्तान, युद्ध भूमि की करो पहचान. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. गुंजन, भावना, मोनिका, अवनी को हम जाने. गुंजन, भावना, मोनिका, अवनी को हम जाने. वर्तमान समय में नारी को हम पहचाने. कोई बचा नहीं ऐसा स्थान, कोई बचा नहीं ऐसा स्थान जहां नारियों ने नहीं बनाई अपनी पहचान. जहां नारियों ने नहीं बनाई अपनी पहचान. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. रत्ना, सीता, कैकेयी की है एक कहानी. रत्ना, सीता, कैकेयी की है एक कहानी. दुनिया ने मैडम कौमा को भी जानी. दुनिया ने मैडम कौमा को भी जानी. दुर्गा काली जैसी शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. दुर्गा काली जैसी शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. नारी जो है सबकी शान, बढ़ाए इनके हौसले और रखें इनका मान. हर दर्द को यूं ही सहती हो, हर दर्द को यूं ही सहती हो. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. नारी तुम एक शक्ति हो, मानव जीवन की भक्ति हो. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Subra. That was amazing. That was really good. So thanks a lot. Thank you. So for this section of our celebration of Women's Equality Day, that is going to be it. And I would like to extend great gratitude to all the artists that came on and presented their amazing, wonderful work. And we are really thankful to all of you. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. So we would be starting with the next section of this celebration of Women's Equality Day, brought to you by MASH, at around 3:45. So I would request all of you to stay tuned and to kindly bear with us. We'll see you on the other side. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, all esteemed panelists. We would just like to add you on to the screen for a minute just to see if the audio is in order. So we'll go one by one. Just you can just say anything so that we can check if everything is in order.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, am I audible?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this much needed chat. Women's Equality Day. Sounds awesome, right? You're overwhelmed with these thoughts of empowerment, freedom, she woman, Shakti. But let's hit the pause button right there. Now, think of this. When exactly in a routine day do you, the individual, the woman, feel empowered? Uh, is it when somebody doesn't ask you how you're going to get home at night? Is it when you decide to wear that red lipstick and you don't care that looks you're going to get? Or just the opposite? Is it when you don't care what you look like, or that solo trip to Goa you made? So, we are hoping to deconstruct these daily choices that we make every day as a women with a very interesting group of people, or as I would like to call them, the forces behind empowered voices. So let's bring them on. And first, we have Mitali Nikor. She's an economist and gender policy specialist. She is the founder of youth led research group Nikor Associates. Welcome, Mitali. And
Thank
we
you.
have Shaurvi Malik. She is the co founder of Slurp Farm, another she woman who quit her decade long career in investment banking to pursue her entrepreneurial dreams. Uh, Karishma Erabali, she's a parenting coach and the founder of Soul Katha, where she uses some ancient practices of yoga and well being for breakthrough with parents and kids. We also have two very powerful voices from the public sector. We have Ira Singhal, an IS officer and an outspoken advocate for disability and women's rights. Her personal battle to make it to the IS cadre is inspirational. Uh, and Rimjim Pandey, an IRS officer. She's Deputy Commissioner with the Finance Ministry, and she's going to give us a inside view into policy making. And finally, a man who is rallying the women force. We have Parul Soni. He has over 25 years of experience in international investment and trade, and where he's been focusing on women economic empowerment and women's business. So let's kick this off, guys. Shorvi, why don't I start with you? So the story of Slurp Farm is all about choices, right? Is how it started. It's about how you refused to be cornered for the choices you people were forcing on you. You have to share the story with all of us here.
Thank you for having me. What an awesome, very inspiring group of people that you've put together. And I'll keep it brief. The story of Slurp Farm is we wanted to change how children eat for the better. We wanted to give them lots of awesome, delicious, yet healthy options at home. And as any mother knows, that's always a challenge. And what was on the retail shelf just didn't cut it. Most food companies had not innovated since, forget me, my parents were children. And food science has made many more understanding and leaps along the way. And so that's the conviction for the need for change is how Slurp Farm was born. And today, sort of 6 years in from when we started, we're in most offline and several most online and several offline stores. We have about 50 products, and they cover children from the age of about, when you start eating till about 10, 11, 12. So we have a whole host of different things, from snacks to cereals to noodles. But the core philosophy of the company really is we should teach children to eat healthy from the first day so that they don't have this diabetes epidemic that is sweeping the country at a later stage. And along the way, we discovered how millets taste really good in food, and millets are a sustainable indigenous crop to India, and one that we want to bring back to the center of the plate. So that's a bit about what we do.
Shorvi, what about the day you walked into that? I'm imagining this. This is how I'm imagining it. You walk into a room of VCs, and I don't want to finish and take the punch away from the story. So I really would love for you to share that here.
So, you were telling me this yesterday, and I guess it's captivated your imagination, but I have to preface that by saying that was my career, right? So I was on the other side of the table, and so walking into a room of people speaking finance jargon is not a difficult thing. But yes, I did the first fundraise when I was 7 months pregnant. I remember going into a few meetings saying, "Oh my God, what if?" And we're two women co-founders. So Meghna was like, if anyone asks that question, we don't need money from anybody like that. And to be fair, not a single person asked any questions. We didn't,
Wow,
and we
that's
didn't
too
act
hard for
that.
everybody.
And I think it was just from, if you're really, you know, I'm sure everybody on the call today has a story like this. If you're really certain about what you want to do and convinced, then that conviction does carry through.
Awesome. Mithali, I'll kind of build on that very thought and saying that, we are celebrating 75 years of independence. Sounds great, makes great posters and makes great slogans. So this journey, have women finally made it to that pinnacle, or I think you called it a cliff?
Thanks, Soumya. So I think, if we look at the research that Nicole Associates has been doing for the last 3 to 5 years that we've been in existence, in fact, our raison d'etre is to, create awareness about female labor force participation and the fact that it is abysmally low in India. Even today, we, thank people like Shalvi and others on this panel who are employing more and more women. And it is, of course, known that women entrepreneurs are known to hire more women, but it shouldn't be like that, right? We need more people like Parul who are committing to hire more and more women in their organizations. And the fact is that in 2017 there was something very interesting that happened. India became the fastest growing economy in the world in 2017, but it was also the year in which the female labor force participation rate hit its lowest point, nadir, since independence. And that, to me, is the story of where Indian women stand today, of where they are not being able to partake in this amazing growth story that our country is seeing because they don't have the financial independence to do so. And even when we look at the representation of women in entrepreneurship, while in urban areas it's steadily increasing, in the rural areas we still find a huge dependence on the National Rural Livelihood Mission and a lot of the self-help groups which were formed, through the decades under the NRLM. But tomorrow, if the support of the NRLM is taken away, then again we'll have the same situation of, do we actually have access to markets and do we actually have access to consumers and changing demands? So that self-employment route, which helps a lot of women, can also be, a bit shaky without the government support. So what we really need is a change in social norms for women to come out and support more women, for older generations to support the younger generations, and for men to be role models so that women can actually claim the financial independence that should accompany India at 75.
So, Ira, I'm building on what Mitali said. That is the story of where India stands today. You are a powerhouse, right? You topped the 2014 civil services examination. You became the first candidate to top the general category despite being differently able. You're, it reads it's reads so well. You are in the government. You're working with the Ministry of Social Justice. You're with the ministry. You're ambassador for the Ministry of Women and Child Development. But recently, you have been completely outspoken about some daily battles women face: discrimination, cyberbullying. This is happening to you. Then stepping out of this very room of empowered women, you cannot just imagine. You can just imagine what's happening outside, right?
Actually, I think the basic problem is the societal structure, and we have still not changed the mindset of the parents. Till the day the parents start believing that their daughters are equal, uh, this problem is not going to go away. A girl is still brought up to believe she is less. She needs someone else to take care of her. She needs security from someone else. And वो शादी करके आपको सिक्योरिटी मिलती है, आपको एक प्लेटफॉर्म मिलता है, तो women are never given that opportunity to build their own identities. And all of us who are on this panel are extremely lucky that we had parents who did that for us. We had parents who didn't think that you needed to be dependent on someone else, or that your only identity came from who you married. But unfortunately, majority of women still in this country are brought up like that. And if women are brought up like that, so are the men. The men are also brought up to believe that the women in their lives are somewhere lesser to them. And that's the unfortunate reality, that we don't have support systems for girls to get out and start doing things. And support system starts from their own families. I know of so many women, even within the services, who are officers themselves, but their own mothers harass them to have more children if they don't have a male child in the beginning. You know, the women themselves are being harassed by their own mothers to have more kids, because there's no boy amongst them. So and that's the sad reality, that even within the progressive families, even within the families who make at least supported their daughters enough to get to those platforms, that idea that a male is still more precious has not gone away. And that's where no matter how big your achievements, as women, your identity still gets stuck to that. I know somebody very recently told me, she's a very decorated officer. I'm not going to talk about what service and all, but very, very decorated. And she heard a batchmate of hers say that, अरे but इसकी शादी तो नहीं हुई ना. You know, I mean, that ideology is still there. This person is working so hard for the country, and I doubt there are anybody, people who made more sacrifices or who worked harder for the country than this. But her stag is still stuck to that, and that's where all our problems arise. The fact that we're still not ready to see women as individuals, we still see them as appendages to their marriages. And when women go out and work in the field, there is no support system. Ghar aake, you still have to cook, you still have to take care of the children. That is always going to be a first priority. So you may go to work, but your work has to adjust to the idea of, can you take care of your kids while you're at work, or when you're coming back, you have to make sure your kids are still going well. Nobody expects the male child, male officer, or males in the society to do that. So if the child is unwell, it's the mother who has to take the leave. If the child is unwell, it's the mother who has to go to the doctor, or that's the expectation. And that expectation does not come in when the male comes in, despite the fact that, by the way, the child always carries the father's name, not the mother's name. So after the birth, really the identity that the child carries is the father's identity. But still, the responsibility that a man has is almost nothing when it comes to the household. Even officer women are still asked questions about, can she take care of the household when that marriage proposals come? That both of you are working, both of you have careers, but when you come back home, you are still going to be the one who has to take care. And because that support system does not exist, I'm talking officers here. Think about it for a normal common woman who does not even have that education or that platform where she can afford too much domestic help. What is her situation?
Karishma, I think that's your cue. Lovely, lovely thoughts. I mean, it sounds so beautiful, right? Equality, rights, freedom. But again, going back to the child, that becomes the mother's burden again, right? It's her
Totally.
responsibility.
Yeah, I think Ira's everything she said is music to my ears because it's bang on, right? I'm booking a ticket to it on this morning, and there's Mister, there's Miss, and there's Mrs. So I'm like, okay, so I have to choose between Miss and Mrs., but the man never has to choose. You get married, you change your surname, your child will get your husband's surname, and so your children are watching. Your children are asking. My daughter asked me this when she was 4. She said, "Why are someone Miss and someone else Mrs. But all the men are Mister?" And
Yes.
and we're supposed to lump this up. We're supposed to say, you know what, beta, ye tradition hai. Don't try and change everything. Just be satisfied that you are educated and you're not being told, right? And it that's the exact problem that I have is that I believe in division of equality. Not everyone can do everything. But when someone is making dosa and another person is, say, booking a cab, why is that a more thankful job than the one who's cooking? Because obviously the woman is doing that. So I go home and I do homework and I do outside work. The outside work, when they come in, I have to serve them a cup of tea. I have to ask them how their day was, right? That is gender bias. Now, when this division of labor is equal, when both sets of people are saying, oh my God, you must have had a tough day, tell me about it, and your kids are watching, that's a completely different narrative in their brain. But it's so subtle and subconscious. that even very successful women like yourselves, when I do therapy with them, when I'm talking to parents, as women, we're so frustrated. Because Soumya, you said earlier, what empowers me and disempowers me? I feel so disempowered that I can't step out without my bra in my nightie when I go to drop my children in the car downstairs, because I don't know what is transparent. I don't know who's looking at me. I don't know what security guard will think what of me, right? And the men are hanging out in their boxers. No one cares what they're saying, right? This client of mine described herself as a parcel. She said, I was a parcel. I was in my father's house. She's 78 now. Okay, I was taken to my husband's house, and then I became a mother of two sons, and that's it. I feel like I haven't opened my parcel because I was just vetoed to everyone else. Who am I in all of this? And it's a mindset thing. And I agree with you, Mitali, when you say that we need to financially empower them. But when maid after maid comes in and they tell us in our society that I'm the main breadwinner, mere paas koi bhi nahi hai, my husband beats me up, right? And the husband's not working, all the money is being spent on alcohol, she's doing everything for the kids and her home, where, and I said, okay, so what is he adding to you? He's like, nothing. Hamari society mein nahi hai, wo option nahi hai, right? So it's a mindset thing. Yes, we need to financially empower them, but can we please start on a very basic level of giving our children a whole new narrative, of telling our kids that, what I do is really, really important. What every woman does is very important. I mean, I go out with a male friend, the waiter doesn't look at me. I'm placing an order, he's not even making eye contact. Okay, yeah, you too, everyone resonates, raise your hand. Right? Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, now he's not looked at me. He hasn't taken my order. Great. Next thing, he serves me half the portion. Half the portion of hummus. And I'm looking at him and saying, I said, Bhaiya, main aadmi hu. I'm like, I'm a human. Mujhe chahiye. Right? So, and my children are watching. My children are watching, your children are watching. They know that it's an unfair world. They sort of accept, because kids don't process things till a very later age. We absorb, and this subconscious brain, from a yoga perspective, that is so deeply embedded within us, is our operating mind. So we have to, all of us here have to constantly work up our worthiness. We have to constantly work on our empowerment. We have to constantly stand on our anger, right? Scream about our issues. And that's the only way change will happen, because this subconscious mind is sitting in the powerhouse. It's sitting in the driving seat. And we're so apologetic about our needs sometimes. We're saying, is it okay to ask for that? Yes, it's okay. Because we want to stop this now. We want to stop it with this generation. How much more?
So, Parul, I'm coming to you. You're the founder of the world's largest virtual business chamber for women, right? So you're working in and out with women, and I'm always reading these beautiful headlines, which makes you cheer, right? You hear about Falguni Nair, you hear about Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, their charts. But where are the women wealth creators in India? Why are we not hearing more about them? Where are these? Don't we all need to be bombarded with inspirational stories?
So Soumya, I think that, I was just listening to, and I meet so many women across the world, as our operations are in 24 countries worldwide now. The situation, if you look at from women economic empowerment and women in business, is very, very, very bad, I can say, because the names which you are taking about, there are very few and far from the perspective of that they made it to the charts. But if you look at from a larger, bigger perspective, there are not many who are really wealth creators or employment generators or people who are employing all that. Listening to all you, the thing is that my thinking is, somebody was asking that how did you get your identity to say that who's your God, in terms of nobody chooses a God. It's basically your parents tell you that this is your these are set of gods which we have prayed in life. So first of all, what Karishma was saying, and Mitali and Ira, the thinking is that the mindset has to change from that large perspective to say that there is nothing which is to say that men or women. We are all equal. And we are equal in our thought process, equal in our mind, equal in our brain, equal physical abilities. There is no need to say that what is differentiation between, the whole body mapping and the body parts of the whole thing. The thinking is that somewhere we have gone wrong for centuries. Today we were discussing how the Britishers ruled us. I'm saying our forefathers were useless. I'm sorry to say, because the reason is they could rule us. Today, no, I'm saying Britisher can come to India and rule us. We are ruling, different countries in the world. So it is also a very agitated situation. But the biggest problem is that we are letting people rule us. We are letting people to ruin us. We are letting people to come to that level that where we are, asking them for permissions, and we are asking them to say that, what we should do and what we should not do. That's the biggest issue. I deal with women. Women come to me and saying, can I, I be in a position to deliver? I said, you can. You can deliver. Why are you asking this question? Why are you in that dilemma to say that you cannot? How it's coming in your mind? So that's the issue which we are grappling with. So when we work with women across the world, when you go to the Nordics, you go to Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and that region, nobody will ask you that question, can I do it or not? Because they have the confidence, they have the power, they have the, the imagination that nothing can stop them. So why in India or in our subcontinent in South Asia, Southeast Asia, we are so, pushed to say that we have to take permission. There is no need for permission. There is no need to even, say that, how you feel. Be confident about how you feel. You want to, wear or not wear, it doesn't matter. It's basically your confidence which matters in life. That's the whole thinking of it. So we run a very large business chamber for women in business. And how I started is a story. I've been from 2009, I've been talking to women across the world, business chambers, accelerators, incubators, education institutions, all different variety of these large aggregators. The issue is nobody is working with each other. They are working in isolation. So what we did, we created an aggregated platform to say, bring all the stakeholders together and bring them to a platform which is virtual. No need to go anywhere. No need for these business chambers where you have to stand for a line and stand for a form where you're taking a form and submitting a form. It's all online. But what the problem is of rural India or the rural world which don't have access to the internet, how will they enroll? So what we are now doing is I'm starting a new program called Begusarai.org. People talk about Bihar. I'm bringing Begusarai, the first city around, that will be the first city in the world which will be digital on a multi-stakeholder platform. Means that you in Begusarai can enroll, you can sell your produce, market, all that. Ira, we're talking about, cell scanning of people with disability. They can enroll themselves. There is no need for government to go and enroll. So there are so many schemes. Mitali knows that we work with, more than 300 DBT schemes on the Government of India. Government of India has a beautiful infrastructure what they have created. But people have no inkling. They don't have the ways with all to use it. That's the whole thinking. We have to empower these people, and that's what we have to bring it. Now, coming back to the whole women's issue, equality issue, that's in the mind. We have to break those barriers, break the glass ceiling. There should be nothing as, the ceiling above us. We are all individuals. We are all equal. We are men or women. And that's what the thinking has to be. No questions asked. And, that's the thinking is, if you are going alone and you are afraid, maybe your friends, take a stick or whatever. I'm saying that, I am training my daughter to be like that, no, she should not be scared in driving and all that. If something happens, we'll deal with it, but let's do it. That's the whole, confidence we have to work with. There are very few examples. That's why I can't build up the whole example series to say that there is how things will change, but, we are all trying. I need all of you. I need your help. I need Shorvi, Karishma, Rimjim, Ira, Mitali, Soumya, all of you to build that narrative that, from India, from the global south, we are changing the global north. Earlier, organizations from global north used to come to global south. We are taking the different trend. Indian organization which is going global, and we are in 24 countries. By 2024 December, we will be in 196 countries. We will be world's largest footprint in the world. That's the whole thinking we are working on. So there is no, the need is to just work on our minds to change that mindset. There is no need. The blockage is here, never, not in anything else. And that's the empowerment we have to create. We have the enablement, we have the ecosystem. Let's work together and do that.
Thanks, Parul. Rimjim, I'm taking exactly what Parul said about time to break the cycle, to go back, think about what we've done. I want to ask you, you're a woman in policy making, right? Honestly, how much are women right now involved in this at the government? Can we see more of it now?
Yes, definitely. But I would like to give a brief background related to it. There was a time when when the voice of women could hardly reach the public sphere. And it was not just about the public sphere in particular, but the workforce in general. And it was reflective of the educational attainment of women and the stereotypes in the society, as Ira mentioned, that there were some stereotypical roles which were assigned to women, like bearing kids and taking care of the house and everything. And these factors used to discourage women from entering the workforce and then the public sphere in general. And apart from that, there is a very big issue, which is the patriarchal mindset of the workforce. So if you are working in the policy making or in any powerful position, there is a mindset among the subordinates that they would probably not accept you as in a commanding role. They might not accept what you are probably asking them to do, because again, women are not seen to be somebody who is ordering them or who is probably asking them to do something. So these were the factors which used to discourage women in decision making, in general decision making, be it of any form. Coming to policy, now we have women in policy making. As Ira would agree, we do have a lot of women who are entering the civil services now from what we look back decades earlier. So this has had a positive impact in policy making, because when a woman makes any policy, it kind of adds that touch to the policies which come out, that they would probably, if not an affirmative action, at least the policies would be equal, because there is a touch of what a woman feels, that how she has been left out, or how she has not been a part of the mainstream impact of the policy. So including more women in policy making helps. And I think gender budgeting, as I spoke to you yesterday, gender budgeting is a very important aspect of it. As we if gender becomes a part of the budgeting, then it kinds of increases the impact and kind of bridges the gap that has long been there. And with more women in policy making, I think the policies can have a more gender side to it, and they would be more beneficial to the women in general.
So a common thread between what all of you kind of brought, and in some way, is financial independence, right? Like that seems to be a common thread about how we as women should be moving ahead. Now, there are so many facets to it. That there is another argument here that if financial independence and inclusion was the only requirement, then our cities, all the women in our cities would be better off. So many women coming to work should be better off. There are so many other factors which are playing out there. Stigma, gender roles of families, everything, wages, equal pay. There are so many factors here which come into play. Shaurvi, you were talking about, you started it with how you have built your team, how you have built your company, inclusion, equal, trying to figure out wages at par with men. Could you just kind of share some of that with us?
Yeah, I'll be honest. when we started our company, I think there was never any question in our minds, right, that we would be creating a very, very equal space for women to come and work, and people of all genders, frankly. Because when you become an organization where there are a lot of women, you want to make it equal for the men to exist there as well. And I think this stemmed from the fact that I could see around Meghna and me, most companies did not encourage women in leadership and encourage women to come back to work or be at work while they had children, which, it's like an odd thing, right? I mean, we've at least reached the point where in really in this room of privilege, because that is somewhat all our stories, that women are educated. We go to the same schools, the same colleges, and then something happens. I don't know what that something is. And I find it extremely odd. It happens in the workplace. And, Meghna and I always call it the can we play in the same room again? And it's like a strange phenomenon because suddenly the boys are in the workspace. So until then you may have had a relatively equal life at home or your parents or in your school. You may have done better than the boys in your exams, and that goes into a weird zone. And I think my response to that was, I may not be able to change the world, but I will give it a good shot, and I will change maybe what I can in my own circumstance. So in our company today, I would say we have a majority of women who are in leadership roles compared to men, but 50-50. So we're about nearly 75 people today, half men, half women, and that's going to continue. But there are lots of moms, and they're as efficient as anybody else, right, at being back at work with one child, two children. We just have to give people the opportunity and take that leap of faith as employers and as people in positions where we can enable that choice for someone else. It's really, really important to take a long term view of people's careers. And, there has never been any doubt in my head that there is any other way but this. I know there's a world outside which is what it is, but there's no impact on growth, on returns, on output, on impact, on thinking from a way to build a world which is fairer, more equal, more just, more sustainable. All of those various factors are not impeded by having women in senior positions of leadership. So the world will course correct. It has to.
Mitali, doesn't that also add to what you had earlier mentioned about recognizing women for work which goes unpaid, right? Uh, isn't isn't that like laying the ABC of that kind of recognition and rewarding?
Absolutely, absolutely, Soumya. In fact, I just want to come back to a few points that a lot of people have made. And I think one of the points, of course, that everyone has been talking about is unpaid work, the burden of unpaid work. We've been crunching the numbers when we're looking at the time use survey data by the National Sample Survey Organization, and we find that Indian women are basically doing 10x. I mean, the data is saying this, I'm not making this up. 10x the amount of work on unpaid work, regardless of number one, whether they work outside the home or not, whether they are married or not, whether they are supported, whether they have support at home or not, they are doing the management of that domestic help. So that's also counted in unpaid work. And most importantly, illiterate men do more work at home than graduate and above men. Illiterate men are putting in 40 minutes at home in unpaid work, graduate and above 37 minutes a day. Women, of course, are doing more than 300 minutes. So, this, when we see this data, we know that this disparity, which Ira talked about, which Karishma talked about, which Jim talked about, Shorvi talked about, all of them have mentioned this. That why this expectation from us? It's evident in the data. Everyone is doing it. So I think the first thing we need to do is all of us to just be like, we are not doing it. If your plate is on the table, I mean, I have done it to my father. My husband is brilliant. My husband does more work than me. But I do it to my father. I'm like, if you have left your plate, you pick it up and you put it in the kitchen. I don't care. My mother will not do it. Not now. So I think, on unpaid work, the change starts with our generation, and it starts with us kind of showing. I am showing it to my interns. 90% of people at Nicole Associates are young women under 25, and when they see my husband doing more than 50% of unpaid work in our house, they are like, we want a guy like this. So, it's like I am showing it to them that it is possible. You can have that expectation and you should have that expectation. So I think that's number one. The second thing, which Parul talked about, confidence and maturity, and sort of saying that, we should have the confidence and then we go for it. I don't think that women are lacking in any kind of confidence, but I think that we have to stop putting this onus on women that they should be confident. I think it's time for women to get that support from their families, from their workplaces, from their from their bosses. I'm very lucky to have a great boss who knows that whether I'm working from home or from the office, I'm delivering, and she trusts me to deliver. And I think that the reason why she trusts me is because it's a she. And maybe if it had been a he in a situation where, in the kind of sector that we work, it may not have transpired, that I would not have had that confidence to grow. So until you have support systems, a lot of Nordic countries have put in place not maternity leave, but parental leave systems, where it is actually mandatory for men to take at least 30% of parental leave by law if you are availing parental leave. And we need more and more men in India to acknowledge that when children are born, they are their children as well, not just the women's children. And the Maternity Act, the way the Maternity Act is written, it places the onus and cost of maternity leave entirely on firms that are employing women, but no financial burden on companies employing men. That in itself is an unfair burden. We need to change the Maternity Act to a Parental Leave Act, which places equivalent onus financially on companies employing both parts of the couple. And if it's a single person having a child, then they can make their own contribution as well. I've actually written a paper on this. So, I have suggested a whole solution around it, which is something a lot of Nordic countries are doing. So, when Parul, when people come and say, oh, I don't know if I can have a child, it is because they don't know if their company will pay the maternity benefit to them or not. A number of women are let go just before the maternity benefits kick in. So this and this happened to one of my colleagues in a university in Calcutta when I was teaching there. So she had to, resign. She was forced to resign during her 2 years of maternity leave, so that the company, the university would not have to pay her. So these are incidents that are happening on a daily basis. Now, lastly, on gender budgeting, Rimjim, you mentioned gender budgeting. Again, at Nicole Associates, we've done a ton of research, couple of academic papers. So Rimjim, I would love for you to read some of our papers. And hopefully, that feeds into some of your policy making as well, where we've analyzed the quantum of the gender budget over the last, 15 years. And we have found that the gender budget has actually never exceeded more than 5% of the total expenditure of the total union budget in any year, as published by the union government. And at the state level, we now have 20 states that have adopted gender budgeting, but not even one of them actually has the full capacity to implement the kind of solutions that the central government is already doing. So even to come up to that level, there's a lot more work and capacity building that's required. So, but definitely gender budgeting is the way to go, because that's how you can bring in a gender lens into the government schemes. But as Shorvi said, we have to go much beyond what the government can do, because the government can only look at its own sort of beneficiaries. But at the end of the day, we as a society need to change.
Ira, you were saying that you wanted to add, like, to what Mitali was saying, right? That there's so much that the government needs to do, and you're seeing it play out when you're meeting people and the work you're doing.
My work, unfortunately, being a field officer, is constantly being in touch with the ground realities and with the mindsets of people. And you're absolutely right, Mitali. It doesn't come from the government. It cannot come from the government. We keep forgetting that the people in the government also come from the same society. So it's something that starts in each household. And to be honest, to me, I think where we start this is somewhere in our school system, in our education system, wherein we change the way, we condition our kids, which is our boys, our girls, everybody. So, those subtle messaging that goes through. For example, I remember this. I was director of education, and I completely revamped our school curriculum and the way we taught classes. And there were these minute statements कि लड़की खाना बनाती है, पापा ऑफिस जाते हैं. So when we're teaching Hindi to our kids or English to our kids, there's a little subtle messaging that we're doing, which kind of then, Karishma was mentioning, that it goes into that not thinking process and gets internalized by all of them when they grow up as adults, right? I was mentioning on the group that a batchmate of mine, he was so upset that there is no paternity leave in the system. There is no paternity leave even within our system. Because remember, we also come from the same society. And the society doesn't think that the man needs to take care of his kids. So his wife, who's an officer, has a nice 6-month leave, and this man does not get to have it. And there are so many officers who want to take paternity leaves. And, we have this child care leave, which happens when your child is in either class 10th or 12th. But there are so few male officers who are ever given that or who ever take that, because, well, the mom has to take care of the child, not the father, right? And that's a big problem that we're seeing. And it cannot come from the government. We make a lot of policies. I personally, I think, made some 30, 40 policies in my career till now. And we do gender budgeting, and we do intersectionality, and we do, work on all of that. But really, till the society really wants to accept it. I mean, look at it. We've outlawed dowry. We've outlawed, female infanticide. We've outlawed testing, everything for so many years. But really, has it happened on the ground? Really, are people following that? Why do we still have a lower count of women at the female child at birth than male child? Despite the fact that normal circumstances, natural circumstances would not allow for that. So it's not going to come from government. It has to always come from society. Yes, as educationists in our schools, we can make that change. But really, till the household starts changing its way of bringing up their child, it won't change.
So, Parul, I'm going to take that to you. We're talking about women empowerment. We're talking about giving women access to the boardroom, to decision making. I've always wondered about mentoring, right? There are people who already got in there first. It could be males, some women also. Is that actively happening? It's such a powerful word right now in offices and companies and corporates, right? Mentoring the next generation, teaching them the keywords. Honestly, is enough of it happening? I think women are stuck even on thinking about if they should go out for a drink at night with some of their teammates, right?
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, Soumya, these are inherent, or you can say these are problems which are inbuilt in the system and the society as such. So mentoring, if each one can support one, in our early ages, we used to talk each one teach one. If we can have each one mentor one, I'm telling you, world will be different, because you will create a support system. There is no, as Mitali was saying, as I said, confidence comes with an ecosystem. Confidence comes with an enablement. The thing is that each one helps one. I'm saying world and this country and the subcontinent will be very, very different looking as such. We are now starting, and we have been doing a lot of work on the mentoring part of it, say only a soft mentoring, to say business mentoring, to say if you have a business, we'll get you a mentor to scale up your business, access to finance, access to market, access to entrepreneurial ecosystem, access to technology, with how to use, where to use, how to scale up, mezzanine, all that. Because always I tell entrepreneurs, saying that sometimes you know how to put the foundation or the basement or the first floor, but you sometimes need that help to put the 20th floor. So mentoring is the process, is basically you have to ask. If you ask, you get. And that's the whole thing of enablement which we have to create, and the variety of the ecosystem which we have to bring in, so that the thinking should, because I'm not talking about too much numbers, because these are all jargons as such to say that these are all. My thinking is, I think start small, and I think world will be a better place. But the thing is, let's do it ourselves first, then to tell others that you should do that. So that's the thinking is very, very. I'm coming from a very grassroots to capital approach, where start from the village and then you can reach the capital, or the capital of the world. And capital is also the money which we are talking about. So the thinking has to be very, very inbuilt and has to be to the core, and then I think things will start changing.
So I want everybody here to kind of weigh in on this. We saw a great interest peak on Dailyhunt app in the last week when some certain events played out news-wise. One was the Finnish Prime Minister's party pics getting leaked. The lady professor who lost her job because her pictures on Instagram, her bikini pictures, some students saw her bikini pictures on her personal Instagram. This has triggered a huge talking point, and honestly, it's a global phenomena. We are putting women up on a certain pedestal, and we are the first to tear them down, right? What do you do? I literally, honestly want to hear.
I have a comment here. There is nothing wrong. That lady, the Finnish Prime Minister, has done nothing wrong. She should not have apologized. My thinking, I've stayed in Finland. I've stayed. I speak Finnish. And I was so disturbed when she said, I apologize for this. She's 35 years old. She is basically in that age where, I'm saying as a person, if I tomorrow become a prime minister or maybe a prime minister, and then, go for maybe a drink or meeting friends, and somebody clicks a photograph, takes a, puts the thing. The thing is, what is wrong is, that the privacy was evaded, and the consent of the Prime Minister Sanna Marin would have been there to say that she wants these pictures and this to be on the social media. Not this is what is evasion of privacy. That's wrong. I think there is no
conversation happening about that. I don't think the conversation is about that. The conversation
is talking about evasion of privacy from that side.
Yeah, for some bizarre reason, the conversation is about whatever she did, was it right or wrong? Should she be? Is this her public persona? Karishma, you talk to so many people and you try to deconstruct these kind of misnomers, right? Where do you go with this?
Yeah, pretty much boils down to what everyone is saying. It starts at home, right? Why is this even a question? A human being has gone out to party, right? Somebody else thinks it's newsworthy to take a photo, very voyeuristic, right? Put it on public platforms, and the world asks, is this right? And we are debating it. The whole thing is a social construct. And we shouldn't even be talking about it, because
and such a waste of time. Honestly, I'm gonna say this. It's like, it is so sad that in this day and age we are even at all debating a woman's right to do that, including the professor who was posting a photo on her own Instagram. It's not cool. It's just not cool.
So are we all being forced to live these dual personalities? Success means that we all have to live dual personalities now?
I don't know if it's about that. I think it's just basically like you're opening up the world and saying, oh, you know what? This one went partying, that one did this. I mean, we're struggling with an everyday issue here of saying, you know what? I'm constantly worried about what these kids are seeing. When a child opens a news and sees, oh, you know what? Is this lady allowed to party? What message are we sending to society? And it goes back constantly. I think just go back home, like Metali was saying. We tell my dad to take. My dad takes his plate every single day to the sink, right? That's been his practice for the last since I've known him. It makes a huge impact in my son and my daughter.
Correct.
Because it's the way that that they're watching the world evolve in front of them. Now, when my father walks into the village, a whole bunch of people may rise, right? But if my mom walks in, they may not. My kids are watching. They've been watching since he was 0, right? The clients who come in are not asking questions about, oh my God, is this right or wrong about the Finnish Prime Minister. Their questions are basically they're struggling. They're like, I'm 22 years old, and I don't know whether I have the freedom of choice to pursue a career that I want because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
Right? I go into a party, I have a young boy. The only question he is asked is, what business are you doing? What business are you doing? Right? He's not asked about who he's marrying. He's under pressure for different things. Our boys are taught that they cannot be soft, that they have to be tough all the time, strong all the time. And then they, like that my son brought in a tray for a guest, right? And everyone's like, oh, wow, Talia, Talia, that's the world we should be living in, right? But if you say, oh, that's not a boy's job, the maid won't even allow my son into the kitchen. Nahi, 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 ladka hai. Right? Now, who has to go get the phone if there's a man and a woman here?
Everybody's looking at you, I think. Not in this room, but yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that with respect to the story of the St. Xavier's professor. I wrote an op-ed on it in the Hindustan Times recently because I was so angry. I actually finished writing that in an hour because it was just an expression of my anger.
Such outpouring.
It was like a rant piece. So when I sent it there, they were like, okay, it's a rant piece. We are running it with no changes. I said, great, thank you. But,
In our own home, sorry, just it's a question, right? Like, should we not question the 50,000 instances of like people like Donald Trump, for example? There is just not enough said about that. So instead we end up discussing this one poor woman. I don't know. I think there's a narrative change we all need to make within our own homes and spaces.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, have you seen the way her father wrote that? I mean, the father of that 18-year-old kid wrote to the university and said, my son is being exposed to all of this, which I have kept him very protected from. I mean, which 18-year-old boy is protected? He's the one who's hacking the Instagram account of the teacher, picking up her private photos, which were posted before she joined Xavier's as a professor on a story. How did he get that picture? And he's protected. So like my anger on this, and so many of my friends are professors in DU and other colleges, and they are terrified that what kind of a precedent is this setting?
No, but why did the woman behave like that? She must have, she dressed provocatively. Right?
Are you also seeing
doing something wrong?
dual personality which women are being forced into? I see it a lot. The moment if you are successful, you have a public persona and then there is a private. There is this forced roles you are forced to undertake. Rimjim?
Yes, there is definitely a burden to behave a certain way, and especially if you're in the public service. And this kind of really triggers me sometimes, but then there's a limit up to which things can be done. So as Ira ma'am said, that the people, the composition of the government, the composition of the public sector is also something which comes from the society. So the mindset change needs to come from the society first, and it will then trickle down to all the sectors.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm being prodded constantly to wrap this up. We have actually gone over time, but thanks to all of you, crazy interest in some of these key phrases and thoughts that you have shared with us. We really hope all of you who have joined us that this chat has sparked something in all of you, women, men, children, whoever, all of you. It'll start from your home, from your offices, but remember that things will change only when you decide to change. It will not happen otherwise. Have a great Friday evening and goodbye, and we'll come back with some more crazy talks like this. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Thanks so
lovely
much.
hearing
Bye.
everything.